let's just, say what it was. I was a part of it too.
You're right.
Right?
Go ahead, say it.
Of really hurting the culture.
Yeah, we did. But you have to understand, we was following in from Love and Hip Hop. So we had to turn up. You feel me? We thought the only way to survive was to turn it up. We used to get fed the Hennessy and fed the drinks and all that shit. And before you know it, we turned up. And they throw in a situation, all right, we gonna whoop this nigga ass. Or we need a commercial break. All right, who we got fuck up? But then you start looking back now and you start seeing the baddies and this and that. I can't make no excuses, but I could just sit here and say we was young and dumb, And we had people basically giving us money to be young and dumb. So you was just going with it.
Welcome to the SIP, where the South Say.
What it do, YouTube? It's your man, G. Lewis. Welcome to the SIP. Did you see that? Now that's C's from Black Ink. Now I remember when that reality show first came out. I would watch that weekly. Every week I was a faithful watcher of Black Ink. Just like I was a faithful watcher of Love and Hip Hop when it first started. Because at the time I was an independent hip hop producer, so I was kind of in tune with that culture. Black Ink, I started watching it for the fact that it caught my attention because here was this black guy who owned a successful tattoo shop in Harlem, New York. So I was kind of like, interested and intrigued about that. But over the years, I noticed how Black Ink began to transform into a Frankenstein. And this is what I mean. It went from being a story about an inspiring young black entrepreneur who has a staff of people who look like him, and they're getting it in. It went from that to tables being shook, liquor bottles being thrown, shoes coming off, weave being pulled out, and I quit watching it altogether. Now, these clips that I'm showing you, it explains exactly what I thought. A lot of these reality TV shows are orchestrated, and the people who make these shows or who are in control of what gets put out on each episode, they don't look like you, or they don't look like me, I should say. And they control the narrative. Now, I'm in film school, and one of my professors used to work on Love and Hip Hop. He's a white guy.
Most post departments are predominantly white. Out of a lot of the shows that I've produced, Black Ink was a show that was produced primarily in post. So post was driving the story.
My professor said that they would take these little boards that they would make, and they would post up everything, every scene that they shot for that week, they would post it up, and they sit back and they look at it. And it would be a descriptive of what scenario played out in each one of those scenes. And they would go and put the pieces together to create the storyboard for that week's episode that was about to come out.
So post-production is really where the show is made, not to take anything
No,
away
you're
from
absolutely
cast,
right. They'll call back and be like, nah, we need this.
And what he shared with the class was that if they had a scene where there were two members of the cast that were gossiping about another member who wasn't in that particular scene, they would take that scene and they would shoot another scene with the person who was being talked about, have them in a scene with one of the other people that were there, and they would share what was being said about that person. You've seen it. You've seen episodes where these women come back and they sitting down having lunch or brunch or whatever. You name your favorite, reality show that has people in it that look like me. And this would fit, that scenario would fit any of them, whether it's Love and Basketball or Basketball Housewives or Housewives of Atlanta, whatever. You take it. Now, if there was somebody popping off about this particular person, now the next scene or next week, there will be a sit down where they at brunch And the person who's being talked about would be at lunch with one of the people who was in earshot of the conversation that was being talked about of that person, and they would share with them what they knew about it. This professor told me that these scenes were set like that. These people didn't know. They would tell them, hey, well, this is what we're going to do this week. We want Jennifer and Tanya to go to lunch. And they already know that Tanya got the scoop on what was said about Jennifer. But they will make it where Jennifer and Tanya goes out for lunch. Because they know that somewhere down the line, the word is going to be said, this is what was said about you. They were orchestrating the drama. This guy told me we did that every week. We would take this and we would put this together and say, how can we make this scene more interesting?
I was in a meeting once where this lady said, when are they going to fight? I'm not making this up. This came out of her mouth. She said, when do they fight? This was early on in my career.
How high up on the chain was she?
She was one of the execs at a network.
Okay, that was a conversation where two of the people were talking bad about one of the other people that weren't there. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have these people meet somewhere in a bar or a restaurant, and they would be just that meticulous in setting these scenes where they know the alcohol would be there. They're paying for it. All that has been paid for by the program. So the alcohol would be shared. The words would get loose on the tongue. Girl, this is what they said. That and the third. So now you build up the drama. So guess what? Next time, in the next episode, they're going to have that person who was talking salty about that individual is going to be in scene together. And the person who was sharing the gossip is going to be there also. They are going to set up another scene, meaning the directors and the producers and executive producers of the show. They're going to set up another location for these women to meet up and get together for whatever they're getting together for. And that conversation is going to come up. Hence, alcohol is going to get to flowing, words are going to get to being spoken, and it's going to go from that to tables being shook and we've been pulled. They say that this guy told me, my professor told me we would do this because we needed something to reel in the audience. We needed something to keep the audience engaged. That was the words. We need a drama or something dramatic to keep the audience engaged. Now, why do they do that? It's not because they care anything about love and basketball, or love and hip hop, Housewives of Atlanta, Ink Black Ink. They don't give a damn about them shows. They do it because advertisers pay big money.
Because most of the time, they don't give a fuck about the content. It's that commercial space. Using, let's say, 10% of the commercial revenue to make this show. But everything else is profit. Especially in that 9 to 10 o'clock slot is mostly prime time, especially for black people. Bro, they're going to drop most of that shit. Because if you ever watch them commercials, it's directed towards us.
And they know that if they don't put what I call the car wreck in these scenes, on these shows, then all of that budgeting and advertising money is gonna dry up. And the show's not gonna be worth a dime. Why do you think Love and Hip Hop lasted so long? Why do you think Black Ink Crew lasted so long? I don't know. They may be still on air. I'm not sure. And Love, in basketball wise. They have lasted as long as they have because of the drama. The drama was orchestrated by white executive producers who was writing these scenes and putting these people together and orchestrating the drama. I'm not saying that they was writing the words for the people on these reality shows to say, but what they were doing were they were manipulating the situations in order to create drama, in order to keep the advertising budgets coming in, because unfortunately, we as black people, we love looking at train wrecks. We don't look away. It is what it is. Just keep it a buck. And why is that? I'm not sure, but we do. And they know this. If you ever notice, they don't have a lot of, you know, hair pulling and mother this and mother that and water and alcohol being thrown in a lot of these other reality shows that are predominantly white shows. Now they have the curse words and the arguments that happen, but actual physical hand and cuffs, it don't go down like that on a lot of those shows. But for some reason, they expect the fights to break out and they capture them. The editor and the producer, they control the narrative of the story. So you may have had something that happened in the first week, and by week 3, they done cut and seen this thing together where it seemed like it happened all within that one episode. They would do that. They'd go and pull old crap and they would throw it into this scene in episode week 3. They were doing the Frankenstein thing. They were taking and building this monster. And now it is a well-fine, oiled machine, and it makes a lot of people rich. It makes a lot of corporate people rich. It is making a lot of these producers of these shows very wealthy, as well as lining the pockets of these networks who produce these shows. So I don't watch these shows. Once I started noticing where the trend was going, after they get popular, they started shifting and they escalate the drama. They escalate the drama. And we as black people, man, we can't turn away from a wreck. Now, I got my own take on why that is, too. And I believe it's like this. We love to root for our underdogs in the community. But once they start seeing a little success, some of them get a little swaggish in their conversations, but that's just natural. But some of us start looking at as a turnoff. So what we start doing, we start trying to find ways to bring them down a peg or two, because our lives are not as plush. Our lives are not as successful. I don't have this, I don't have that. So we start finding ways to start, hating these people, for lack of a better word.
They want to see the car crash. They want to drive slow like, oh, wow, this nigga crashing out. They want to see that because sometimes, I ain't going to tell you no lie, people want to see that, see other people's misery so they don't feel that bad.
You know what I'm saying? And I see that right now in sports with Prime, Coach Prime's son. Look how they're coming after Shador right now. Now, all of a sudden, he's about to go to the pros, and now you got these anonymous sources leaking out what has been supposedly said about he's arrogant and, and he's too cocky and this, that, and his arm is not as strong. They're finding ways to find flaws to try to belittle and tear this young brother down before he can get a chance to step on the NFL platform and show what he really can do. They wasn't talking about him like that when he's at Jackson State here in the SIP. You know what I'm saying? Not those things, not coming from those people. They weren't talking about him like that. And they weren't talking about him like that at Colorado. They were talking about him, but not to the point to where it's at now. He's graduated. He's making his rounds because the next step is the best step of his life. It's the NFL. It's the top of the top, the cream of the crop. Now all of a sudden they're talking about he's arrogant. Now they're talking about his arm is not as strong. That buzz is getting louder. It might have been there bubbling under the scene for years, but now it's now become like the only thing that they're speaking about. And we as black people, not all of us, because we don't all think like, and we don't all say the same thing. But a lot of us, once we see people that are reaching these astronomical levels of achievement and success in our community, for some reason, they may say one or two things that that we ain't gelling with, and all of a sudden now, this person done fell out the grace of everybody in the community, and now they become, a pariah. And I'm thinking that's why we have a tendency to lock in and actively tune in to these shows that I look at as detrimental to the betterment of our community, like all these reality TV shows. We lock into them, we watch them because we love to see a train wreck. Damn, I'm looking at that. My life ain't that bad. Damn, I ain't got no money, but damn, I ain't got his problems. I ain't got her problems. We don't say that, but subconsciously, somewhere in our mind, we look at this like, damn, okay, my life ain't that fucked up. I'm just keeping it 100. At least this is how I look at it as being. Now, is that critique deserving of many of those people? Maybe, perhaps. But I'm just saying the reason we watch these shows a lot of time is because we love the drama. That's basically what I'm getting at. We love to watch the train wreck. We love to watch the car wreck as we slow down on the interstate to see what happened. You know, if we didn't engage and lock in every week and watch these shows in big numbers, those networks would not make those shows any longer, because they'll say, well, we can't get no ad budget for it because the ad people say ain't no eyeballs on it, so we're not watching. We're not gonna put our ads on a show that nobody's watching. So they know they got us dialed in, man. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality. So I pose a question to you. If you are someone who watches these shows, let me know in the comment section why you watch these shows. And if you're somebody who used to watch them and now you no longer watch shows, when I say these shows, the Black Ink, the Love and Hip Hop, the Basketball Wives, the Housewives of Atlanta, that's what I mean by these black reality TV shows. And if you're no longer watching these shows, you know, post in the comments why you no longer watch these shows. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm G. Lewis. Till my next video, take care of yourself. And as always, fam, take care of your people. God bless.